Amy was always a simple girl, a wallflower, from middle school until her adult married life. She was shy, introverted, and had few friends, not because she didn't want them, but because she simply didn't know how to find them. She and her husband, Brian, met in high school science class. They shared common interests such as comics and fantasy games, and when they started dating seriously, they both discovered that they both enjoyed cosplay events. Now married and a mom of two elementary school children, Amy was the mom who volunteered at school events and helped with craft fairs and science projects, but was always forgotten about by teachers. She and Brian had gained significant weight after years of fast food, very little exercise, and two children. As for Amy, she carried most of her weight in her big round ass and 40 breasts, which she hid with a sweatshirt and baggy pants. Brian has gained significantly more weight, more than doubling his school size with a big beer belly. She liked to tease him that if he didn't start trimming his thick beard, he would end up looking like Bigfoot. When COVID hit, the family became even more sedentary, watching movies and eating more often. She watched videos on Facebook about how to get your body in the best shape possible. She signed up for the program, like thousands of other hopeful consumers, and stayed in the regiment day after day. Brian teased her, saying that she would hurt herself if she kept this up, sweating on the living room floor from push-ups and crunches she could barely do. After a few weeks, her body began to change, and she had more energy throughout the day. She started cooking healthier food, but it soon became her only food when Brian and the kids started complaining about the vegetables and lack of red meat. Week after week, her workouts grew longer, and she became increasingly addicted to the pain, sweat, and euphoria that came from intense training, pushing her body to do things she never thought possible. Her body was noticeably different. Her big ass was firmer, stronger, but still thick. Her breast size went from 40 to 38 to 36 with visible abs underneath. She started following CrossFit professionals and soon joined a CrossFit gym. Her wardrobe began to change, and in need of new clothes, she began dressing like the only community she knew other CrossFitters. No longer embarrassed by her body shape, leggings, tank tops, and shorts became her everyday wear, and she became a regular at Lululemon. As she walked with more confidence, her new self-image became visible to others. Several baseball moms on her son's little league team invited her to join them for lunch between games on Saturday. She had known her mom for a couple of years in the league, but they had no idea who she was until this particular season. The women she thought were snobs were very nice and funny. The conversation was cheerful, playful, and sometimes mischievous. We talked about husbands and former lovers and even teen coaches. Amy made new friends among the baseball moms, going on hikes, runs, and even shopping trips together. She enjoyed taking their suggestions on current fashion, becoming more fashionable and building her confidence in sundresses, crop tops, sexier bras, and thongs. One afternoon at Lizzie's, while the kids were at school, Amy and a group of her new moms began discussing their boudoir photos for their husbands. Amy, naive to such things, asked, "What is boudoir photography?" looking questioningly at his three friends. All three looked at her in shock, and Lizzie replied, "Really, let me show you," extending his hand to Amy as she stood. Lizzie walked Amy back to the bedroom, her friends following behind her, opened the large walk-in closet, turned on the light, and hanging perfectly in a large gold frame was a beautiful photograph of Lizzie in white lingerie, stretched out on a leather sofa with an incredibly sexy expression on her face. "My God, it's you, Lizzie," putting his hand on Lizzie's shoulder. "Yes, that's true. I look damn sexy, don't I?" Lizzie commented proudly. "You should watch Tanana. This bitch was wearing red," and laughed along with everyone else. "Shut up," Tanya laughed. "My husband loves the color red, and I can look so slutty just fine," laughing at herself, flipping her long blonde hair over dramatically, placing her hand on her slender hip. "Wow, I had no idea. Did your husband do this?" asked Amy. "Oh no, honey. We all use the same photographer. He's amazing," Lizzie replied. "He is an old man with huge eyes. He looked at my breasts a little bit, but he was very nice," Nicole said. "Everyone is looking at your breasts, Nicole. Tanya teased her busty brunette friend. Well, I'm just saying. Your breasts are about the same size as my Ames, so expect that, Nicole told Amy. Can I get his number? Does he have a studio, or does he come to your house? Amy asked pointed questions as they approached her. He has a great studio. I think it's bigger now that he's working more with local clubs. Let me give you his number, Ames, Lizzie suggested. Amy's mind was spinning, nervously anticipating the possibility of taking such erotic photos for Brian for his upcoming birthday. As she left Lizzie's neighborhood, she stopped the car and dialed a number. Jerry is here, came the answer on the second ring. Hi, Jerry. Do you take boudoir photos? Asked the nervous housewife and mother of two. Well, yes, sweetie. I make a lot of these. Did one of your friends recommend you to me? He asked with great excitement in his voice. Yes, my friends Lizzie and Tanya. How can I make an appointment? Asked Amy. Well, let's see. Today is Thursday. How about Tuesday? Yes, this is wonderful. I've never done this before. What do you suggest I wear? Honey, it's up to you. Most women wear underwear, some wear bikinis, some wear nothing at all. It's up to you how erotic you want it to be. I include 3 wardrobe changes in my session, so bring a few of your favorites and I'll help you choose and we'll see what happens. Just come with your makeup and hair done. How does that sound? This is wonderful. That sounds funny too, Amy said, not knowing why she blurted it out. Well, it usually is. See you at 11 a.m., Amy, after Jerry had collected all her information. I need to do some shopping, she thought as she pulled into traffic on her way to the mall. Her first stop was Victoria's Secret. With the help of a young saleswoman, she chose a blue negligee dress that would lift up her large breasts for maximum cleavage, with sheer fabric that parted below the bust to show off her hips and butt, and a matching thong. She also took a white corset with her choice of stockings and garter belt. As she walked past the MAC Cosmetics counter, she thought about makeup. She'd never worn more than eyeliner and, lately, lip gloss, but after seeing Lizzie's photo, she knew she needed to take it up at least 10 notches. A curvaceous woman in bright makeup asked if she needed help choosing, and so began a wonderful meeting in Amy's mind. Not only did she book Amy in for a session on the Tuesday morning before her photo shoot, but she also arranged for her hair and gave her some helpful tips. Amy walked through the mall back to her car, excited and nervous about doing something so bold and out of character, hoping that Brian would like the photos. I don't think he's into adult stuff, but I wonder if he'll want to have some fun with these photos, she thought as she walked. He says he likes my new body and always compliments my workouts, but maybe he'll have more energy to have sex with me after seeing me like this, she fantasized. She could only hope as she felt her body begin to tingle with anticipation. She looked at the website of Malibu Strings, a California-based swimsuit company. As soon as she saw the brunette model in a turquoise metallic string swimsuit, she added it to her online cart for delivery by Monday. She knew she could never wear it in public, but the thought of wearing it at least once made her excited. The weekend passed slowly, with constant thoughts of her being almost naked in front of the camera. This thought scared her, and then excited her. On Monday morning, after dropping the boys off at school, Amy headed to the gym and did one of the most intense 2-hour workouts of her life. The amount of squats and box jumps left her buttocks and thighs burning in pain, but she loved it. Sweat streamed down her chest, soaking her t-shirt. She broke her pull-up record and did 150 push-ups, which turned her arms to mush. She usually waited to shower at home, but this time she brought a towel and a summer dress with her to change into before her waxing appointment. When she stepped out of the shower into an empty locker room, she looked at herself in the mirror with admiration, seeing how much effort it took to transform her body. She let the towel fall and flexed her muscles in front of the mirror, turning sideways and showing off her buttocks, watching the muscles in her thighs flex. She raised her arms, showing her back muscles, then her chest, making her large breasts move. She put on her summer dress and left the gym, saying goodbye and hugging the girls at the reception. When she returned home from hair removal, the first and perhaps the last of her life, She wondered why no one had told her about the pain that accompanies hair removal from the most sensitive parts of the body. She stepped out of the shower for the second time that day, once again admiring her toned body and now smooth skin. Now it's time to try on her new swimsuit. She ran her fingers over the shiny metallic fabric, marveling at how small it was and wondering if it would cover anything at all. She moved in different positions, feeling how the thong entered her with every movement. God, this is just incredible. You're hot as hell, she said to herself in the mirror, starting to untie the fabric wrapping her body. Tuesday didn't come fast enough. Amy woke up wide-eyed at 5 a.m. when Brian left for work. She thought about going for a morning run or doing an intense strength training session, but didn't want to do anything that would ruin her photo shoot or her hair and makeup. The excitement she felt yesterday was replaced by even more nervousness. What if she looks stupid? What if Brian doesn't like her photos? What if the photographer doesn't like her or her choice of lingerie? She had to concentrate and not give in to her thoughts. Her hair and makeup appointment went better than she expected. She didn't know what instructions to give, so she let Sophia do what she thought was best. Sophia worked wonders, and Amy fell in love with herself more than ever. Amy's heart beat faster with every kilometer she walked as she approached the studio. She arrived early and tried to control her breathing to calm herself and remind herself that these were just photographs. She wasn't impressed by the small lobby with a leather sofa, but decided that photo studios didn't need a spacious lobby. Jerry greeted her with a friendly smile and then reached out to hug her in greeting. He motioned for her to sit back down on the couch and sat next to her, asking why she wanted to take boudoir photos and how she was feeling. Apparently, she wasn't his first newbie, and he quickly made her feel comfortable, noticing her nervousness. He showed her around his studio, which he was very proud of. Off the lobby was a large open space with clean polished floors and various lighting installations and backdrops. A black, highly polished Harley was parked on the mirrors. On the other side of the garage sat an orange and black hot rod, the car of a customer who just wanted his favorite car to be photographed. Jerry explained that he does a lot of work with local car and motorcycle clubs. Jerry took her bag and carried her up the stairs to the studio where they would be working today. This studio was impressive. It was bright, elegant, with many backdrops, props, and photo areas with the most modern equipment. He explained the process and suggested we start with a white corset and stockings. He pointed to the dressing area behind the curtain if it would be more convenient for her, and then added, "We will still have to get to know and see each other better in the process," as if hinting that she should not be embarrassed, because he would still see her half naked or completely naked through my lens. "Wow, this is amazing, Amy," Jerry encouraged her. "Your husband will be delighted." She kept clicking the camera as she walked towards him. "Just act natural, move as usual. Don't try to pose or pretend to be a model unless I tell you to," he suggested, without stopping for a second. Not knowing what to do or where to go, she stopped in the middle of the room, awaiting further instructions. "Go to that black leather sofa," he pointed towards the sofa. "You practice a lot, I see," he added, following her and taking her off her back and bottom. "Look over your shoulder as you walk," he said, clicking his camera as she glanced at him. "Now just make yourself comfortable on the couch. Sit or lie down as you usually do at home," he instructed, kneeling down to capture her sitting. "Great, now look at the ceiling and lean forward. Let's show off your big breasts." Click, click, click. "Damn, your abs are incredible. Let's show your husband more of that," he said, moving to the other end of the couch, balancing on the armrest. "Lean back on the armrest, throw your head back, and stick out your chest." "Yes, perfect," he said, continuing to click the camera while she arched her chest, tensed her abs, and threw her head over the edge of the sofa. "Move your legs as you feel comfortable. Cross them, put one foot on the back of the sofa and the other on the floor, if that makes you feel comfortable," watching through the lens as she slowly reveals her strong legs. "You make everything so easy for me." She felt alive, so confident and at the same time obedient to instructions. She felt sexy for the first time in her life. She sat down on the sofa with her legs tucked under her, almost on her knees, sitting upright and looking at the camera with a serious look, holding her large breasts in her hands, and then smiled. "Yes, so playful. This is great, Amy," the excited photographer encouraged her. Without looking down, she knew that her large breasts looked amazing in the corset, and she felt sexier than ever. She looked at the camera and bit her lower lip seductively, thinking about how Brian would look at her breasts. She threw her head back, tossing her hair, and lowered her breasts onto the arm of the sofa, pushing them further out of the corset. "You're a natural, Amy." Click, click, click. "It's hard to believe you've never been a model before," catching the lines of her body from the front. He leaned forward, brushing her hair behind her ears. "This is absolutely amazing," he said, lowering himself underneath her and pointing the camera upward. "Do you feel comfortable? Maybe we should move on to the nightgown." "Yes." "Okay," adjusting her corset as she stood up. She watched him change lenses while she took a blue peignoir from her bag. While he was focused on the camera, she unfastened the corset at the back and removed it, along with the belt and stockings, without hiding behind the curtain. She pulled the negligee over her head, adjusted her chest and hair, and looked over her shoulder to see if he was watching her. But he was still focused on the camera, so she took off her white thong. As she began to put on the blue ones, his voice made her flinch. "If you feel comfortable, you can leave them. Your butt is too perfect to hide," he said without even looking at her. "Oh, damn. Should I be completely naked in front of him? Will Brian like it?" Thoughts flooded into her head. "Yeah, okay," she agreed. "My God, what a beautiful butt she has," he thought as he led her to the backdrop of the fireplace, where there was a white bear rug on the floor. "Lie on the floor as if you were waiting for your husband to join you in front of the fireplace," he directed, looking at her through the lens. Walking naked to the next backdrop was exciting. She had been naked more than once while working out and wearing certain leggings, and now she was starting to feel her arousal return. She felt that he could notice her excitement. So when he suggested she wear a swimsuit, she was more than ready for a change. This time he didn't change the camera lens or get distracted while she changed clothes. He let her know he was watching her as she lifted her negligee over her head, now completely naked in front of him. For the first time, she didn't feel embarrassed or ashamed of her nakedness. She was delighted. She felt her strength, knowing that he did not want to take his eyes off her body, which she so diligently transformed. "Let's go downstairs and try to get you on a motorcycle in this swimsuit," he suggested, picking up a pair of black stilettos from a clothes rack. "Oh, that's it. Play with the camera, Amy. Do whatever feels natural to you," he encouraged. "God, this feels so good," she said out loud instead of saying it to herself. He smiled and then laughed, as if he had heard this before and was not at all surprised. "Then just enjoy the moment. Do whatever feels right to you," he suggested again. The sudden ringing of a bell broke her concentration, and she jumped to cover herself. "Oh crap, it's probably a client. Sorry, honey. I'll be right back," he said, getting up and heading to the front office with the camera hanging around his neck. "Oh my God, what am I doing?" she thought as she adjusted her thong and top. Several long minutes passed before Jerry returned. "Amy, it was the owner of the bike. I told him we'll use it for your photo shoot, and he was of course delighted. But he asked if he could take a look. He is also the president of a motorcycle club and a big money manager who can attract a lot of business for me. If you don't mind, I'll do a boudoir for you for free. How do you like this proposal?" I think it's okay. I mean, I got a little carried away earlier. Does he want to use photos of me with his motorcycle?" "Well, I didn't show them to him. These are your photos, but I can if you don't mind." I don't know. I think we can just show it. Just don't give it to him, okay?" "I promise, Amy. This would be very unethical. Don't judge the biker by his appearance. He is a good person. I'll go get him." But the one who came in after Jerry was not at all the one she expected. The image of the fat biker disappeared from her mind when a stranger walked through the door and extended his hand to her. "Hello, I'm Robert," he said, holding out his hand to her. Amy froze, staring into his light blue eyes. not noticing the outstretched hand in front of her. Amy, this is Robert. Robert, this is Amy, that beautiful model I told you about, giving Amy time to come out of some kind of trance. Oh, hello. Nice to meet you, she said, shaking his big, strong hand. His skin was soft but strong as he held her hand tightly. She admired his tailored gray suit without a tie, with a blue shirt and polished shoes, which she noticed when she lowered her gaze to avoid looking him in the eyes. He was an attractive man in his 50s, athletically built, with a short beard and impeccably styled hair. The color of your swimsuit goes well with black and chrome, don't you think? Suggested Robert. Oh yeah, this is a great combination. Thanks for letting me pose with him. I like hard steel, which is chrome, she said, feeling a blush creep into her face at the clumsy words. Well, I won't keep you. I don't want to interrupt your filming, he said, stepping aside to the bar stool against the wall. Oh, you're not in the way. Just a few photos, she muttered, suddenly feeling as embarrassed as a schoolgirl. Yes, I see, Amy, he said, looking straight at her large breasts. Amy, let's get back to squatting near the engine. This time, put your hands in your hair and then run your fingers through the chrome, Jerry instructed, moving into position in front of her. Reach for the steering wheel, he suggested. You can stand on the back steps to reach them, Robert said from behind her. Running boards? She asked. Robert, can you show her where they are? Jerry suggested, without taking his eyes off the camera lens. She watched as he stood up and took off his jacket, flexing his pecs for her pleasure before moving closer to her. Sorry, I don't know anything about motorcycles, Amy said sheepishly. It's okay, Amy. Hearing him say her name made her blush again, feeling heat and excitement rise within her. Goosebumps ran from her ankle to her thigh as she felt his hand wrap around her ankle. That was great, Amy, he said as he stood to end the photo shoot. Let me help you get off, Robert offered, taking her hand and helping her swing her leg over the bike, slowly sliding his hand from her hip down to her calf. Thank you, sir. Sir? I like the sound of that, princess, Robert smiled. Amy blushed at her unexpected submissive comment and nickname, Princess. Robert, Amy gave me permission. Would you like to see some pictures I took of your motorcycle? Sure, but I think Amy made the bike even hotter than I could have imagined, Robert winked at Amy. Amy stood with her hands folded in front of her, wearing a microscopic bikini, not knowing what else to do, while Jerry showed Robert the pictures on the small camera screen. She noticed Robert's eyes looking up. Then a smile appeared on his face as he commented on how the chrome and black paint looked in the light. I'm going to go get dressed, Jerry, Amy said as she walked up the stairs to get her clothes. Neither man took any notice of her leaving, but Amy felt Robert watching her bottom as she walked away and up the stairs. She knew what images he would see, and it excited her to think that she was so open to a stranger. As Amy came down the stairs, fully dressed in leggings and a tank top, the men were discussing Robert's motorcycle. Jerry, just let me know when the photos are ready. It was nice meeting you, Robert, Amy said, feeling a little awkward. Robert pulled away from Jerry and walked over to her. Amy, it was a pleasure. Thanks for posing with my bike. You are truly beautiful, he said, leaning down to hug her. Mutually, Amy whispered, feeling his strong arms embrace her and press her to him. Where do you train? A CrossFit body like that doesn't come naturally, he complimented. Of course not. I train at the CrossFit Academy downtown. This is my second home, she smiled, noticing how he looked at her body with admiration. He took a few seconds to let his gaze run over her body, not hiding his admiration. Your hard work shows, he winked at her again. Thank you again. Sir, with emphasis on sir, they exchanged a light laugh. On her way home, she turned onto an empty street and parked under a large tree. She needed to gather her thoughts and cope with the desire that was growing more and more inside her. As she pulled out onto the road, rushing to get home before the kids got home from school, her phone rang and the name Jerry Photographer flashed on the car's display. Hi, Jerry, she replied with a smile. Amy. Robert just left, and I have some amazing news for you that I think you'll love, he said with enthusiasm in his voice. About, he made me so nervous, Jerry, but not in a bad way. He wasn't the biker I expected. Jerry laughed. Yeah, I noticed that. He's not your typical biker. He is an investment banker and very rich. The motorcycle club is his hobby. Either way, he was very impressed with you. He wants to make a complete calendar for his bike club. Bike of the month, so to speak. This is a great opportunity, Amy. That's great, Jerry. I'm happy for you. You're really good at your job. I'm sure he will be very pleased with your work. She smiled, happy for his success. It's great for both of us, honey. What do you mean? Why is this good for me? Does he want to use my photos from today? She asked curiously, hoping that she would have the opportunity to approve the ones he chose. He wants you to be the model for every motorcycle. You will be his only model. His words, not mine. He told me to pay you whatever you want and not to consider other models. Seriously? I, overwhelmed and increasingly frightened by the prospect of becoming a model. I don't know, Jerry. I don't know what to do, she said as she pulled the car into the bank parking lot. You are now officially an experienced model, honey. I showed him your photos. Don't worry, I hid the ones that are too revealing. Can you start next week? I will need to order you swimsuits, heels, and some backgrounds. We'll shoot one bike a day, too, maybe 3 a week, so he has time to get the bikes to the studio. How do you like this schedule? Yes. Oh my God, I can't believe it, Jerry. I'll send you the sizes when I get home. How much will I earn for this? I told him you wouldn't settle for less than $12,000, and he agreed. So, see you Tuesday at 11 a.m. And hung up. Did he say $12,000? Holy shit, she laughed in the car. The days dragged on as she thought about the upcoming photo shoot. It felt like the longest week of her life. The hardest part was that she couldn't tell anyone. Her thoughts drifted away every day when the children and Brian left the house. She needed Brian to have sex with her, and when the kids asked if they could sleep over at a friend's house, she quickly agreed and kicked them out of the house by the time Brian got home from work. As soon as Brian walked through the door, she wrapped her arms around his neck, wearing her favorite summer dress, and kissed him through his thick beard. How about we order takeout and watch a movie? She asked in her sexiest voice, with the same expression on her face. Oh yeah, sounds good. Wait, what do you need? What did you break, Amy? He joked. Nothing, you big sucker. She hit him on the chest with her hand. Maybe your wife just wants to make her husband happy, she said. What if your wife does whatever you want, unbuckling his belt and pants, crouching in front of him and pulling his pants down? Really, Amy? Damn, what's gotten into you today? He was surprised. She shrugged. I had a bad workout and I was horny all day, she said. Do you want me to stop? She said. God, no, he said, placing his hand on her head. Let's go to the bedroom, she said, leading him into the bedroom. She helped him take off his pants and underwear and told him to lie down on the bed. She took off her summer dress. They had sex. She enjoyed it, crawled away from her husband, and went to the shower. Tuesday morning arrived and her nerves were on edge. She was excited about the photo shoot as a model, but was nervous about how her body would react once back in front of the camera. Entering the lobby an hour early, Sophia was ready and waiting. Her hair and makeup went on faster this time. Jerry suggested making the makeup look lighter with this tweak. Sophia was finishing up work when Robert walked through the door, said good morning to Amy, and went to the bike photo area. Oh shit, do you know who this is? Sophia whispered in Amy's ear as she finished her hair. This is Robert. He has a couple of motorcycles, Amy replied casually, looking at her hair and eyes in the mirror. Girl, it's Robert Calloway. Do you know him? Who are you modeling for? Yes, I forgot his last name. Why? Sophia laughed. Girl, he owns half the city and a lot of enterprises. He even guested on Shark Tank as an investor. He's so hot. Oh, so you want to meet him? Asked Amy. He's a really good person. No, it's time for me to go. Taking one last proud look at her latest work, she hugged and kissed Amy, wishing her luck. Jerry displayed Robert's bike under bright lights against a wintry backdrop for the January layout, ready for his model to join. He put her in different positions in front of the motorcycle. "That was great, Amy," he praised her while posing on his motorcycle. "Thank you. That was pretty hot," she blurted, blushing. "How do I get off this?" Looking around the motorcycle. "Let me help." He hugged her waist and lifted her up. Placing her hands on his shoulders, feeling herself being lifted from the motorcycle into his arms, she pressed her breasts to his face. "I think I'll go change," she said, freeing herself from his touch. As she approached the small curtained dressing room, she looked over her shoulder and saw him staring after her. No longer as shy as before, she left the curtain slightly open, allowing any of the men to watch her change if they wanted. She bent down, unfastening the straps of her shoes. She stepped out in her red bikini and red stilettos and saw an apple-red Harley under the bright lights and against a white background. "It's beautiful," she said as she walked up to the front of the Harley Road King. "I'm definitely going to need help getting on this one," she said. "We'll have to take your heels off on this one," Jerry said. "So while you're wearing them, let's take some shots in front of the motorcycle." She posed in different poses as she was directed, glancing at Robert, who was watching her closely. "I think she needs to take a little break," Robert continued laughing, leading her to a nearby bar stool. His gallantry was amazing. He was always there to protect and help her without asking. She felt herself blush, taking his hand as he helped her up. When he suggested a break, she was grateful, her quads burning from the squats. When his hand touched her lower back, she froze, feeling his touch, and slowly walked towards the bar stool. He handed her a bottle of water and, like a true gentleman, asked if she needed anything else. "A massage would be nice," she blurted out, without thinking about the context. She rubbed her muscular thighs with her hands and added, "My quads are burning from all those squats. You shouldn't have done your legs yesterday," avoiding his gaze. "Your legs really show off, especially in a bikini," he complimented. "Thank you," meeting his gaze. "It was a long journey to get fit. This is the only thing that has survived," she said, looking at her large breasts, which he admired. "Jerry, do you have any lotion or cream for your muscles?" Robert shouted. "I have butter upstairs. I'll go across the road for drinks. What should I bring you?" Jerry suggested. "For our Princess Diet Coke, and for me Monster Dragon Tea, if you can find it." "Thank you, Jer," Robert replied. "Let's put some oil on your feet," taking her hand and leading her towards the stairs. "How did you know I was drinking Diet Coke?" she asked as she walked up the stairs in front of him. "With a body like yours, there's no chance you're drinking regular soda, and I saw a bottle in your car this morning," he laughed. "Oh, sly one," she giggled. "Thanks for the compliment. Is that why you want to walk behind me?" Giggling, she put her hands behind her back to cover her bare buttocks in front of his face. "Hey, now you can't deny this pleasure after such a compliment," he teased, removing her hands from her buttocks and replacing them with his own. She blurted out. "Careful, mister," she warned, looking over her shoulder at him as they reached the top of the stairs and stopped. "Oh, I promise to be very careful," he said without looking up at her, squeezing her buttocks. "Unless that's okay with you." Again this polite gallantry, she thought, melting in his arms. "Not at all," she froze in his arms. "Your ass is amazing," he whispered as he kneaded her soft flesh. "So elastic and dense, I would like to bite her," he said, looking at her reaction. "Oh God, stop it," she teased, but she wanted him not to stop. "Let's get some oil for your muscles," he said, picking her up in his arms, surprising her with his strength. "Oh damn, you are strong." One hand wrapped around his neck, the other squeezed his bicep. "You won't believe this, but you're the first man to pick me up," she said quietly, wondering why she even said that as he carried her to the bar stool. "Well, it's just a shame, isn't it?" He set her down on the bar stool and headed towards the closet. "Here, I found it," he returned with a bottle of arnica massage oil. Without asking, she watched as he poured a generous amount of oil into his palm and rubbed it between his hands before placing his warm hands on her thigh. He began to massage and knead her muscular right thigh with both hands, smoothing out the knot and relaxing the muscles. "Oh, wow," she moaned softly. "You're great with your hands," watching him, then realized what she said and blushed. He leaned down and kissed her briefly on the lips, then pulled away. Seeing her close her eyes, he leaned down again, touching her lips with his. Walking down the stairs, carrying her shoes, she asked Jerry, "Should I reapply the lipstick or leave it like that?" "No need. I'll tweak them at the final stage. Let's start at the back of the bike and leave your shoes on." After a long sip of Diet Coke, she said, "This oil is wonderful, Jerry. Where did you get it?" Rubbing both thighs again. "It was recommended by a massage therapist for a model who often had muscle pain," he replied, focusing on the lighting arrangement. "Are you ready to finish this bike? And tomorrow there are 2 more, and that's all for this week." "How do you like that, Robert?" "Yes, that's enough for the first week," Robert replied as he watched Amy drink her drink. She struck a few more poses in front of the red custom motorcycle before Jerry called it a day. After telling her to be in the studio and ready to start work at 11 a.m. the next day, he added that he had another shoot out of town and that she should lock the door when she was done. Watching her try to wipe the oil off her body with a towel, he reminded her of the shower upstairs, where everything she needed was provided. She thanked him and told him how much fun she had being his model. As he was about to walk out the door, he yelled that her check was in a FedEx envelope on his desk. She walked him to the door, locked it behind him, and headed upstairs to shower and change. She hoped that Brian wouldn't come back early and wouldn't notice her wet hair. When she came upstairs, Robert was sitting on the bar stool she had just sat on, talking on the phone. It seemed like a business call, so she quietly walked into the large bathroom. It was even nicer than she expected, with dual vanities, makeup lighting, granite countertops, marble floors, and a huge walk-in shower with granite walls and glass partition, plus a rain shower on top. She let the water heat up, took off her oily bikini, and stepped into the shower. She closed her eyes, the hot water running down her body as she tilted her head back, images of the day flashing through her mind again. She opened her eyes and screamed as she felt arms wrapped tightly around her waist. She turned her head and saw him standing naked behind her. "Sorry, didn't mean to scare you," he whispered in her ear from behind. She froze, not knowing what to do. Should she scream again and throw him out? Should she tell him that she is married? She didn't want to say anything. She couldn't. The words didn't add up. Instead, her body took over and she simply looked at him. "Are you nervous? I can leave if you want," he smiled politely. Um, I, um, I want you to stay," she muttered, looking down. "Okay, because I want to stay," he said, and his fingers gently touched her bare thighs. "I wanted to see you like this all day," he whispered in her ear, kissing her neck, brushing her wet hair aside. "Such?" she asked, not knowing what else to say. "Naked in my arms. No matter how small this swimsuit was, it still covered you." He kissed her bare shoulder, moving up her neck until he turned her to face him. He lifted her chin to look into her big brown eyes. "Do you mind if I finish what I started earlier?" "You want this, don't you?" he whispered. Looking into his eyes, she nodded. "Say what you want. Ask me for what you want," he whispered again. "What do you want, Amy? Tell me," he demanded. I want you to have sex with me." They had very passionate sex. "Are you okay, baby?" he asked quietly, brushing wet hair from her face. Oh, damn, she took a deep breath and slowed her breathing so she could speak. "What have you done to me?" He chuckled. "I warned you, didn't I? I told you I was going to take you rough." "Oh my God," she repeated, stumbling over her words. I've never experienced this before." Amy stood there, breathing heavily, feeling the water running down her hot body and a feeling of unreality washing over her like a wave. She could still feel the touch of his hands, every movement that seemed written on her skin. Robert stood in front of her, his eyes focused, but at the same time gentle, as if he had just revealed something new and endlessly seductive to her. "Are you okay?" he asked again, and there was such a mixture of concern and confidence in his voice that her body involuntarily responded, tensing at the mere timbre of his voice. She felt a shiver run through her body. "I don't know. It was incredible," Amy admitted, looking away. She could feel her cheeks turning red with embarrassment and shame at what had happened. "But I don't know what to do now," she added quietly. Robert smiled, his face softening. "You don't need to know now. You don't have to make any decisions right here and now, Amy." His voice was low, soothing, but it carried the confidence of a man who was used to getting what he wants. Amy knew that she had a husband and children. She knew that what happened was not just a physical act. It was the beginning of something that she could not control. For the first time, she felt alive, real, more complete than ever before. And although she was a storm of emotions, shame, guilt, fear, and excitement, she could not deny that this moment opened her eyes to who she was and who she wanted to become. She stepped forward and leaned down to touch his face. "I have to go," she whispered, feeling her voice shake. "I understand," he nodded, allowing her to leave. "But you know where to find me if you change your mind," he added with a slight grin. Amy nodded, trying not to show him her confusion. She stepped out of the shower, quickly dried herself off, and got dressed. She knew she had to go back to her normal life with her husband and children, but something inside her had changed, and she couldn't ignore it. As she left the studio, her phone rang. It was Brian. "Hi, honey," she said, trying to sound normal. "Hi, Amy. I thought you were already home. Where are you?" he asked, and there was a slight note of concern in his voice. "Oh, I was just staying a little late, doing something for you," she replied, trying to hide the trembling in her voice. "For me. What is this?" Brian asked interestedly. "Surprise," Amy replied, trying to make her voice light. She turned off the phone and looked at the studio. "What am I doing?" she thought to herself. She knew that this would not be just a short romance. She realized that she was starting a journey that would change her life forever. Amy returned home, her thoughts in disarray. Brian was waiting for her with a smile on his face, and the children happily greeted her at the door. But she felt that she could no longer be the same. Something new was born inside her, and she didn't know where it would lead, but she knew for sure that there was no going back. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next